the strength of Sparta, the pride of Rome, the beauty of Cleopatra, ancient wonders unknown. From the sunrise to the battlefield, the call that rattles your bones. Walking in the steps of history, dream of what could be your own. What can you do if you believe? What can you do if you believe? What can you do if you believe? What can you do if you
All right, team, how is everybody? Hope you're having a good week. We're back in acting land. What jobs we're working on at the moment? There's a lot going on. It's pretty cool. We have a very special guest tonight, Chris. Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but he's joined the group a little while ago, and he's done a lot in a very short amount of time. And if you're just getting into the industry and you're wanting to learn how to make a really solid start, Chris is definitely the man for the job. So we're going to bring him into the chat right now. Here he comes. Chris, how are you, buddy?
I'm on it. I'm very good, thank you. Thank
How
you,
about
Malcolm.
that? Good to see you. You're out of Auckland at the moment, so this is like long distance call.
It is.
And you
absolutely.
are the inventor of all you can eat internet. Is that correct?
No, I believe that's actually a term when they supply fiber.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I just that was something we were talking about before, so that was just fun. So thanks for joining us tonight. That's awesome.
Thanks for the invitation.
And let's talk about you turned up at one of our brunches. I'm going to say 20 months ago, give or take.
It's going to be getting pretty close to that, yeah. Yep.
Was it April, May, something like that?
May 23, I think, yeah.
Okay. And you tell the story. You were pretty new to the game back then.
Oh, very much so. So I retired from my previous career in real estate, and I'll refer to real estate a little bit later on. But after a year of goofing off after a high-pressure job, I was looking for something else. I had itchy feet, and I needed to do something. And acting was sort of a tickle in the back of my head.
Nice.
And I went to a party. I became involved in a conversation about. In fact, the hostess had just appeared in some film that was playing at the time. She was a background extra. She was a barmaid, and she was telling everybody about this, which was quite a big thing.
Nice.
And my ears perked up. Long story short, I asked her how she got into it, how I could possibly get into it, and ended up being referred to Background Talent, BGT, as an extra. So I joined up. Within a week, and within 7 days, I was on a program called 7 Days with Jeremy Corbett, right in front of the camera. It was actually a featured extra. It was none of this right in the background thing. I was
the
there.
training you'd had for that was.
Well, the training I'd had for that was probably 30 years in real estate. That was just one role.
Yeah.
Yep. But that went on to be Shortland Street within a couple of weeks, or the next week, in fact, and then Brokenwood Mysteries. Very fortunate to get an opportunity to be a background extra in Jason Momoa's Apple series that's due to come in next year, I think, or maybe the end of this year. It's about consolidation of the Hawaiian Islands called Chief of War.
Nice.
So yeah, got to play with Jason Momoa. He's a big boy.
I've never met him.
Yeah, he's a neat guy. He is.
Awesome.
And that's just a couple of things that got me started. But very quickly, I realized that as much fun as being an extra on these sets was, and seeing all these mega stars being, just an arm's distance away, it wasn't enough. I wanted to be an actor.
I get it.
So,
I understand that.
yeah, that set me on my journey.
Nice.
So that's from what I understand, that's what you want to hear, is how I went from being brand new to the industry to where I am now.
Be a real estate guy to an actor. That's quite a shift.
It is, and it isn't. But just to put that in perspective, my first year in acting, if you like, I appeared in 4 feature films. I now have 5 IMDb credits.
That's fantastic.
As those in the industry know, IMDb is the global platform for recognition of who you are as an actor, as a director, and films are all placed on the IMDb platform.
Yep.
So yeah, I was pretty happy with that. But how I got there, through BGT, I became aware of an acting class with Elena Stetko. She runs a course at the acting studio in Epsom. It's a night school course for the Michael Chekhov method of acting.
Which is excellent, by the way.
Oh, absolutely incredible. So I did 3 terms of that in my first year as a night school class. And funnily enough, that is where I met a good friend of ours, Alistair Gregory.
Oh, nice.
Who told me about the Actors and Extras Network and met your good self and many
Thanks,
other
Alistair.
So somewhere around about the second term, or maybe it was in the first term, he also alerted me to South Seas Drama School. Okay. He was going for an audition to try and get a diploma in drama and screen acting. I'd never heard of the school. I was brand new to the industry. Never heard of the school, but I thought, hell, what a great way to get some peer review, to see how I was going at that stage. And it was around August, September. Am I any good? Is it worth carrying on? Is it just, eye in the sky type thing? So I went through the audition process for South Seas, and that was a whole weekend.
Oh, wow.
And came out the other side pretty well, in that I got into the Level 6 program. The auditions were... Level 6 is a 2-year program for drama and screen acting, and that's really what you're auditioning for. The second option is a 1-year course at a Level 5 level. And they're slightly different programs, obviously the year and the 2 years, but also within that first year, the Level 5s are more focused towards stage acting, whereas we're doing quite a bit more screen acting.
Okay. That's a lot to take in a short amount of time. Yeah. Because one of the reasons we set up NZ Actors and Extras Network is, and you've probably seen this, you're over on set, there's extras there who, they want to be diligent, truly, they want to do a good job, but nobody's really taught them how. And so how important would you say getting that training is from like day one, even like the night courses you did?
Malcolm, to me, it's extremely important. It was extremely important to me. You've asked me how I went from real estate into acting. I was in real estate management for quite some time, so I trained quite a few new real estate people, rookies into the industry, on how to be a good real estate salesperson. Nice. So I've likened that process a lot to going brand new into the industry as an actor, as a rookie actor.
You find there's a lot of skills that you can carry across.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And even it's more of you go into both industries with you're a seedling, or you have a kernel of talent, but that needs to be grown. I mean, the seedling may be different sizes. It might just be a seed, or it might have some green growth. That's the level of talent you're coming into, either the real estate industry or into the acting industry. Yeah. But it's still fledgling. It's just a tiny little thing. It needs watering. It needs nutrients, and that's building up your confidence, being exposed to people, So having the self-confidence to go and present yourself to people and sell yourself, but you also need to upskill. You need to know how to say and when to say things, how to network with different people, how to get your reputation out there. So there are many parallels between real estate and acting. But just to get back to your question, I believe it's absolutely essential to grow your skill level. You go in with a little bit of inherent talent, but you've got to grow your skill level to get anywhere,
Definitely.
any sort of traction.
Definitely. I did a talk a little while ago about how nature provides us everything in seed form, and it's our job to water it and make it grow, the short version. And that's the same with exactly what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So it makes sense, doesn't it? It's what we've both seen. I mean, you've had some background experience in real estate as well. So
I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
How that works. As well. I make no apologies.
I know, right? No, that's good. So you've been. How much work did you start getting? What was your? So let's do it this way. The way you approach something now that you've done a little bit of training. I'm guessing it's polar opposites to what you might have guessed it might be if you hadn't done the training. Your approach to a role. So somebody gives you a role, somebody gives you a script. How you go about analyzing it, working through the character and all of that kind of thing. You've got a good knowledge on how to do that now, right? Tell us about that.
Look, absolutely. And it's really come together towards the end of this year, which has been my first year of the 2-year diploma.
Okay.
We've had programs we've had classes on script analysis, where you actually completely break down the script, try and work out the intent of the character, the tone of the character, the inner voice that's going on in their head when they're presenting these words. You can memorize those words, and you can go through the motions, the directions that are on the script.
Yeah.
I saw a clip from Russell Crowe. He says, "I've never been to an acting class. 2 key things you need to do is learn your lines and don't trip over the furniture." There is a little bit more to it than that. You want to know what your character did just before this scene. What led him into this scene. What's he coming into? What is the atmosphere of the scene? What's the dialogue or the inner monologue that's going on in his head when he's presenting these words? And then you bring in other stuff. If he's got a screen partner, if he's dealing with 1 or 2 people, he's reacting to what those people are saying. And he's reacting as a human being to that person. He's got lines. I mean, you've got lines that you've had to learn.
And that's got to be real reactions, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, the writer-director has written it down thinking, this is how this character is going to respond. These are the words they're going to respond with.
Yeah.
But the words are only 25-30% of your language. The rest is body language and intonation and projection of your inner energy. This is part of Michael Chekhov. It's a projection of your inner energy. Are you pushing those words? Are you pulling that person in? Where are you? How are you reacting to that person? There's a lot more to it.
I know.
There's a lot more to it than just learning the lines and not tripping over furniture.
And they jump into that psychology at a very deep level. Is that correct?
Absolutely. But in the school, if we go to South Sea School, we started with a class of 21, and as we went on, it went down to 20 people. The tutors themselves need to know who you are and at what level you are.
Yeah.
And like any school, it would be great to be able to teach everybody individually and to take them through individually according to their skill level. Yeah. But they've got to teach the class as a class. So there are programs where they break you down a little bit. They put you there up on stage. They challenge you to challenge yourself. I'll just in the first term, we did monologues in front of the camera. So
in the first term,
in the first term,
straight in.
So you may, straight in there. I was towards the end of the first term.
Okay.
You may remember I did at one of your brunches. I did A Few Good Men. I did Colonel Jessup.
Oh,
So
you
I
can't
actually
handle
had
the
that one.
truth.
You can't handle the truth. So that was one of the things that we did in class. Um, we also did. Oh, we were up on stage in that first term as well. So towards the end of the first term, we were doing American plays. So, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. We were doing Procter and Danforth. That was. Oh god, this has gone out of my head now. But there were a number of American period pieces, mostly, but very well-known pieces,
Nice.
and given scenes to do, and they were reasonably long scenes. So this challenged us as well, because it's not just with screen acting in front of the camera. Of course, you say your piece, and then you stop. As they change the camera angle, or you get a retake or something like that.
Yep.
But on stage, it's just woe to go. You need to know all your lines, and if you fluff it in the middle, you need to keep going, and you need to cover it up.
Make it work. You're doing
Yes.
on film, you can be doing 2 or 3 sentences, a couple of short monologues, but if you're doing a full show, it's 90 minutes.
Yeah. Fortunately, what we were doing was not 90 minutes long, but it was still a bit of a challenge. We were, I think, maybe 6 or 7 minutes long.
Okay.
Which that was our introduction. But that's still woe to go.
They're breaking you in gently.
Yeah. It's in front of everybody, of course.
No pressure. So you've spent a lot of time learning lines for a lot of different show types, film types, stage types this year.
Very much so. This year, this last term especially, when we got to the stage where we're doing our final assignments, the beauty of South Sea School is it trains not only actors, but it trains directors, producers, editors, camera people.
Awesome.
The whole gamut.
Yeah.
And then the school comes together in the final term to do these projects together. So the writer-directors will write their final project, and this is their graduation project.
Okay, that's
because
perfect.
It's a 1-year thing for the writer-directors, and then they pull in the actors to obviously act the parts in their films. So I ended up with 4 roles in 4 different films, and those were my final assignments. That's what I was assessed on. So
how close together were they?
2 weeks apart.
Ooh.
So I was a detective. I was a father. I was a cowboy, a cowboy from the 1800s in modern day. I don't know. The
Right.
film hopefully will be able to be published. I think it's with film festivals at the moment. And finally, I was a soldier. So that was 4 roles. I was learning 7 different monologues and dialogues and characters at the same time. So there were other projects. I think one of the finals was to do our own self-film, a self-monologue. We had to choose a moment or movement in film history, write a 500-word essay on that moment or movement, and we also had to do a 2.5-minute monologue.
Oh, wow.
So and self-film it, and then submit it as our project. So the experience that we got from one of our earlier term projects helped in putting that monologue together. So in term 2, we did a class called Genre, where we had a special tutor. We had Jamie Irvine come in. He's a fairly well-known New Zealand actor.
Yep.
He's currently on Broadway at the moment. So he came in and taught us different genres, how it's filmed, the tonality of film. So we were doing cowboy films, we were doing gothic horror films, we were doing comedies, we were doing musicals, but we were also filming them ourselves on our iPhones, editing them together. So this year I've also learned how to do iMovie. I had no previous experience on iMovie. This is the Apple free to Apple program. But in this final term, I could edit a complete monologue, 2.5 minutes. I overlaid 3 audio tracks. So I had Steppenwolf's Easy Rider track.
Oh,
Born to
fantastic.
Be Wild. I had the rumble of my Harley Davidson, and then I was doing a monologue as a location scout for Easy Rider. That was my project that I chose. So.
Nice. Not doing a plug for iMovie, but it's one of those apps when you look at it, it's a blank screen, but once you dive in, there's actually a bit you can do in there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've only touched on it. I still haven't learned how to change the audio halfway through, sort of thing. But yeah, just still playing with it.
You can play forever. How important do you think is the... Sorry?
No, I was just saying, it's so much fun. But give me another question.
How important do you think it is, all that background stuff? I mean, you're the actor in the front of the camera. For you as an actor, how important is it to know what's going on behind the camera? Audio, camera, lighting, that stuff.
Extremely important. I had no idea how important it was, of course, until going through these different projects. One of the finals that has come through, to be fair, the final projects were filmed and then had to be edited, put together, and the audio and everything had to be done within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Just for a presentation. It's not necessarily the final project, but you can see when there's a variation of the audio where you've changed from a boom mic to a lapel mic and they haven't quite got the audio correct. But I had no idea about any of that until I've gone through the schooling. So it's important. It's important in your, I guess, in your projection, your understanding, your patience when you're being fitted for a lapel mic. I mean, in one of my projects in the third term, I was an Austrian ambassador, so I had a full wig.
Of course you
and
were.
Full, full jacket, but it was open at the front, so it was very difficult to get a lapel mic. And where we were filming was such a tight confine, they couldn't get the boom in too well, so they ran the mic up under the wig. So the mic was just sitting up here. It was actually sitting here, but it also had to be in a place where it didn't rub and create an additional...
Yeah, they're very small, so you can... if you take the clip off, you can hide it away pretty quickly, I'm sure.
Oh, you can hide it just about anywhere, but
yeah.
You learn all these things. So when you go out onto those big sets, you know what you're in for. How they mic you up, how they direct you. It's very important. Knowing when to remain still. It's gaining an appreciation of continuity. So when you're doing the same action, you've got the same angle and you're doing the same take over and over again, you've got to do it exactly right. You've got to put the glass down in that place, and then they change the camera angle. You still got to do it more or less exactly right. They can fudge it a little bit, but and then you work out that the camera angles, there's a close up on the face, there's a wide angle to get the entire shot. If it's a different genre, if it's a cowboy movie, quite often they'll come from underneath and they'll be looking up at the eyes. So you gain a terrific appreciation.
And as an actor, you've actually got to cater to that, where the camera is, where the microphone is. It's part of, it's an acting partner almost.
It is very much, you are working with the camera. You've got to know where you're projecting to. You don't look down the barrel, which is the expression of looking straight at the camera. It's very, very rare that you look down the barrel of the camera, but you've always got to be aware of where it is and what the director wants you to project in that direction or away from that direction or to your screen partner. So you learn a lot.
Nice.
And the best thing to do is to do it so many times that it becomes a habit. And this is another thing I've heard you say. The more times you do it, it becomes ingrained in you. It becomes a habit. It becomes instinctual rather than
part of who you are.
Rather than fact, it's part of what you're doing.
And we've heard some great actors. They say things like, someone asks them how they did a scene. They say, well, I just walk through the door and turn left. It's so easy to them because they've done it so many times. They don't think it's a big deal. But when somebody new comes in and does the same thing, they're still mechanically trying to work it all out. So those repetitions of practice building into part of your being, that's pretty important, eh?
Certainly is. Knowing where your marks are on the floor, or if they have to take the marks off the from the floor because they've gone to a wide, still hitting those marks.
And you can't like stare down at them while you're walking around.
You're going to be looking at your screen partner or looking ahead or whatever. You can't. Oh, yeah, should be there. Yeah.
So now that you know what you know from your first year, you take a look back at some of that stuff you did right on day one. You'd do it differently, right?
Yes.
Some of the films you did right from the start. Would your approach to those be different, maybe?
I was extremely lucky, actually, Malcolm. I met a director-producer couple, a director-writer couple at your brunch. This is in my first year. This is before I went to school, and they cast me in a reasonably significant role as a sort of support actor. But they partnered me up with a very experienced actor,
Nice.
Dallas T-Bell, who just he probably gave me my grounding in acting.
Nice.
We did a lot of virtual rehearsals because it was just so difficult to get everybody together for this particular film.
Yeah.
But we discussed the two characters. We created huge backstory. So I learned how to do a backstory and the character mannerisms and even nicknames and where we came from. We were sure we were agents, but we'd come from the service. We were probably mercenaries over here or somewhere, and so we came in with that attitude. In the film, I think probably our interaction and our confidence on screen together was some of the better acting in the film.
Nice. Nice. And the camaraderie even possibly setting that up.
Absolutely. We were just friends. You know, we were friends in the movie, but we were friends off screen as well, and we'd worked together so much. It was just it was like second nature. We weren't acting; we were just out there. And,
the camera sees that stuff. Yeah. That's pretty good. So to have that as like one of your first ones as an acting partner is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'd bring in a number of different layers and probably a little bit more ease, and perhaps the lines would be delivered better. That's what I have learnt over the last year and a half. But as I say, I was very, very lucky in that very first movie to be partnered up with Dallas. He taught me so much.
That's pretty cool.
So much so that it's funny how things just sort of rolled into each other. There was another person who advertised on your network looking for actors for his film, a passion project he'd been trying to put together for about 7 years. A very interesting character. You and I have had discussions about him. Yes. But it was a fantastic opportunity. We learnt. I got cast in the lead, and Dallas had actually been cast in the film previously when it was going to go ahead and then didn't go ahead. So I mentioned Dallas to this writer director, and he says, "Oh yeah, he's already been cast previously." So Dallas came on as my screen partner again, which was absolutely fantastic because we learned a 70-page script in, I'm going to say, 3 weeks. We filmed on one location in 4 days. A lot of green screen work. He did a lot of things with the movie, and he put it all together within a month. So he's a very interesting character, but he's also amazingly talented with all of that. And we were so lucky. We were cast with a young lady called Moya, who she blew me away. She learnt probably double the amount of lines that I did in that same period of time. Wow. She was quoting Shakespeare within the movie, and just the ease that she was acting.
Wow.
It's meeting these people and acting with these people that give you the inspiration to try and be better.
Yeah, definitely. And you take a lot of that away with you, don't you? You meet somebody, you spend some time with them, and you carry it into the next whatever it might be. Yeah. Now, you said with Dallas, you did a lot of character development. Before you created a character behind the character. How critical is that?
it's as I referred to before, and what I've learnt more about this year. It's the script analysis. So even if you just go into an audition and you've got one scene, you need to go in to that audition with something. You can just quote the line, you can just say the lines and look a certain way. But if you sit down and have a look at that scene and try and analyze it, it may only be a couple of pages and it may be completely out of context and you may not get it 100% right. But if you create a backstory for that person, if you make him or her a human being with real human emotions, and they're coming in with a very defined intent, then you are far more likely to win that audition than not.
And you find
and
the
if
character...
you're auditioning for...
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, just if you get the whole film, you will have a script that a writer director has written, and they have a certain picture of who that character is. So whenever you do your backstory and your analysis of your particular character, you've probably won the role for that role for your interpretation at the audition anyway. But as you build your backstory and your intent and your inner monologue and all that sort of thing, it does pay to check with the director.
Just in case it's a completely different vision, right?
Yeah, you're not going off in that direction. But also, you can go in with 2 or 3 different offerings.
Nice.
So play him this way, and very straight, because he's that sort of straight up and down sort of person. Or maybe he's a little bit evil. Maybe there's a little bit of a backstory, and what he's saying is one thing, but what he means is something else. Yeah.
Those are the fun roles.
Yeah, those really are the fun roles. Or you can create fun in most of the roles.
Yeah. But I think all that backstory makes the character just a lot more interesting on screen, right?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody wants a one-dimensional person speaking lines. I mean, they could have the lines in front of them, and they could just be looking at the lines and delivering them and doing whatever blocking action that they're supposed to be doing. That's not going to be interesting at all. Anybody can do that. But if you are that person, and that's the key. You're not acting that person. You are that person.
You are that person.
You are that person, and you're responding to that person. You're responding emotionally to that person because of something that's happened to you, or something's about to happen to you, or something that's happening to you right then and there. You respond as that person.
Nice. And all the courses and all the training that you've done, how much of the techniques like the Meisner, the Chekhov, you've done some Chekhov, you mentioned that before through Elena, how much of that's taught at the schools, and how critical is it?
So actual acting techniques, I think they've only really touched on them in the first year. So in my first year with South Seas, I'll go back. I did Michael Chekhov with Elena 3 terms last year before I started with South Seas, or the year before last. This year, at the beginning of the year, you ran a workshop with Mike Edward.
That's right. That was good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So not only was it an exposure to other actors, it was very, very defined as acting teaching, rather than teaching a broad spectrum of situations and opportunities to try your craft, which is what's happening at South Seas. Mike was honing in on 6 or 7 specific acting methods: the Laban, the Meisner, the Stanislavski. He covered briefly a snapshot of each of those acting techniques, and that was so very helpful to me as well, because I brought a lot of that back into South Seas, and it just gave me an advantage in my learning and in my presentation.
Because the question for you was, you were doing South Seas, should you do Mike's course as well? It seemed like a double up. It didn't seem to play out that way?
So I was, you're quite correct. I was advised that I probably wouldn't need to do Mike's class. And I was advised by a second year student at South Seas that, oh no, you'll learn all of that at South Seas. And it's, you're probably wasting your time. Well, not wasting your time, but you're spending additional money and additional time, because South Seas is full time. It's 40 weeks a year, 40 hours a week sort of thing. And we were doing Mike's course for 10 weeks on a Sunday. But I got tremendous benefit from it. But like anything, you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah, definitely.
I went there specifically to learn additional stuff. I read books on Meisner, and I read books on Laban, and I read books on Chekhov and Stanislavski and method acting and all. That's something else that you should be doing. Sure, go to school, go to different night school classes, but there's unlimited material online and in
huge. Books. Yeah.
That course was invaluable. I also did another term with Elena Chekhov at the end of the term. So in my 5th term, while I was doing, that's where the additional dialogues and monologues came in. While I was doing my final projects, learning these characters, I was also studying to do a scene from Anton Chekhov's, that's Michael Chekhov's uncle. Anton Chekhov is a renowned Russian playwright. His movie, The Seagull, his play, The Seagull, which was written in Russian, translated to English. I played a Russian. So that was another challenge. Yeah, but it's been great. Do as much as you can. Take every single opportunity you can.
And I think I can say this for acting and music and a few other things as well. You might learn. We'll talk about acting because that's what we're here for. You might learn Meisner from 5 different people, and you'll learn 5 completely different angles or approaches or whatever it might be. So you end up coming at it from all sides. Is that what you're feeling?
Absolutely. Even my perception of what Meisner was wasn't necessarily completely rounded at the beginning. The more you learn, obviously. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And
yeah,
those rabbit holes,
learning a little bit.
They can be as deep as you want them to be, can't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's good to get it from so many different angles at the same time. I learnt some Oscar Peterson tunes from one person, then I learned them from another person, then another person, and it was like completely different music. It's just great. So you're about to break into year 2. When do you kick in?
So February 10th is the start of the next year.
Well, we're nearly through January already, mate.
I know. I don't know where this break is going to disappear. I was pretty burnt out at the end of last year. It was full on, and I actually invested absolutely everything, all of my energy, into both the school and the night school class. And at the same time, I did a stunt double on Broken Wood. I was on a few other different bits and pieces outside of the school. So I'm still enrolled with the Extra Network, and I'm also with Action Extras. So I got a little bit of work here and a little bit of work there. Chief of War wanted to do some pickup shots because they hadn't got the continuity 100%. So I had 3 days doing that as well.
That total immersion is really good. It's hard work for a short amount of time, but once you come out of that level of deep dive, you're all powerful, really, aren't you?
Yeah. It's if you're just sitting around waiting for work and just going from one extra role or one acting role to another. Then there can be big gaps, and you can sort of lose your momentum a little bit. The beauty of what I've been doing for this last year is there hasn't really been hardly a moment to scratch myself. If you'll excuse the expression, it's just been so full on. These last few weeks, I've been unpacking. I've been reading my notes, and you jot the notes down as you go, and then you fold them away somewhere. And when you start rereading them, and it's like rereading the same acting book over and over again to try and get a different perspective on the acting technique. You start getting different insights, and you start actually working out what you were taught.
Yeah.
It may have been ingrained in there, and you may have actually brought that into your acting in your film and that sort of thing, but you haven't actually worked out what it was. So it's just been in the back there. But
now you got a deeper understanding. There's things I learned 10 years ago that I'm just kind of working out now. That's
yeah.
Maybe I'm just slow. I don't know.
Well, you keep putting all this stuff in. Some of it might fall out. Some of it might need to be parked right at the back there, but it's still in there.
But sometimes when we go back on it, we are mentally at a different level the second time we look at it, so we get quite a different perspective on it, maybe.
Oh, 100%. It's a bit like learning a language. Just as something that I've been doing is Duolingo through the year, reviewing French. I learned French 30 odd years ago, not to a terribly conversational level. The reason for that, and the only reason I mention that, is it's helping me with my enunciation and my diction and my vocabulary and my memory. I came into this industry at 60 years old. 59, late 59, early 60 years old. Complete change of career. My brain hadn't been used that way for quite some time.
So you're pulling some different corners of your brain.
Yeah. And it's like any muscle. The more you exercise it, the better it becomes. So Definitely. It's easier to learn lines. Not easy, but easier. To learn lines.
You just develop that part a bit stronger. So what do you think they got for you this year? Do you know already? Or yes?
I do, to some degree, because we worked with the year twos in year one. We worked with them when they did a web series, so we were backup actors. Mm-hmm. So we're going to film a web series. It'll be a 4-episode web series. I know in the first year we went to see a show put on by the second years. That'll be a stage show. So we did a stage show in our first year, but it was just a one-night production. So we did a matinee and then a night production. It was Tartuffe by Molière, which was quite a challenge. This one in year two, in our first term, will be a 3-day production open to the public.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
advertise it to the group so people can come in.
We'll do that, absolutely. That'll be... depending on how confident I am, where we go. We'll do that. So there'll be a web series. Later on in the year, we will be behind the camera.
Nice.
So that's what the year twos did for us in our shortcuts, which were short movies we filmed in our term 3. So they were makeup, and they were camera assistants and directing assistants and all that sort of thing. When we did our shortcuts, just 3-4 minute, 5-6 minute films perhaps, they bring in industry professionals to assist in the project. The industry professionals are the professional cameramen, the professional sound people, the professional directors, but year twos are the assistants to all of those people, and Nice. They learn the craft. So that'll be amazing. I'm looking forward to that.
It makes sense to know all that stuff because they're the people you're working with. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And at the end of the year, we will be writing and filming and producing our own short films.
Wow.
So that will be our final project for year 2.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
There's lots of places you could take that.
Well, yeah, what do you want to write about? Who do you want to be? Where are you going to, you can tap on your imagination to whatever degree you want.
Yeah. So if somebody was coming in to the groups, to the industry, brand new person, mm-hmm. what would you recommend to them as a path forward? I mean, your career's grown actually very quick compared to most. What would be your advice to someone like they just came in today?
Okay. My advice to them is anything's possible. Don't be afraid of anything. Put yourself forward to every opportunity. Those are sort of generic things, but you need to join a good agency to get placed in good opportunities to try your craft. If you're just coming brand new into the industry, be an extra. because you're going to be exposed to real life filming. You'll have that opportunity to be on a set in front of professional writers, directors, megastars, global megastars like Jason Momoa. So you'll get that opportunity. So join a good agency. That's key. And then at the same time, it's not and then, it's at the same time, you need to upskill yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
You may be a very talented person. You may be very personable. You may have that natural talent that enables you to go out and act. That's great. But you won't be the all-rounded, well-rounded, able to do any particular role, able to go confidently and not trip over your feet, unless you get some upskilling, unless you get some education.
They say if you want to be a professional golfer, the first thing you got to do is stop golfing with your mates. And actually hang around, learn the skills properly, learn everything properly, so that we've got a few people in the groups, and I think they just feel like it's built into them anyway. They arrive on set and all the wheels fall off. And this is the difference maker to that, isn't it? The training.
It very, very much is. That training, that knowledge will give you the confidence, the self-confidence to relax.
Yeah.
Well, to some degree. I mean, some of the greatest actors in the world still have massive anxiety and panic attacks and all that sort of thing. But there are techniques that you will also be trained to deal with those situations. When you suddenly blank, when you can't get your breath right, so you can't deliver the lines. As part of the acting techniques, as part of the learning techniques of your lines, run around, get your heart rate up as high as you possibly can, and then deliver your lines. Nice. So you know that you can deliver your lines in a moment of absolute panic when your heart is beating out of your chest and you can't catch your breath. Some of the other, if you're your screen partner, you've got a dialogue between two people. So you deliver that dialogue, you rehearse that dialogue, ramp it up. Throw those lines across to your screen partner as fast as you can, and receive those lines the response as fast as you can, and go through that whole scene at like 5 times the speed, so that you're not thinking about the lines. They're just coming. They're just going. That's to ingrain the lines. Of course, you're also layering all of those lines with your emotion and all of that sort of thing. But this is to enable you to learn the lines. And there are line remembering techniques, or memorizing techniques, sorry. One of the ones that I discovered online was to break down your script and take the first letter of every word of your dialogue or of your monologue and write it on a piece of paper. In my case, I put it up on a massive whiteboard. Yeah. So it might T represents then, A represents Annabelle, B represents the boat or whatever. So it's A, T, B, and you've got all these lines, and then you read the lines from the first letters of each of those.
I was skeptical when I first heard that technique, but it works really well, and I've used it a lot.
It does work, doesn't it?
It's surprising. I like it.
Yeah.
So learning words, I mean, that's obviously an important part. A lot of people seem to think that's most of what acting's about. About what percentage would you put it? I mean, we talk about the psychology, we're talking about the methods, we're talking about working with screen partners and having real reactions and all that other kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The learning the words, that's really something you do first, and then you start acting? Question mark.
That's a very interesting question, and I approach things I approach things my way, which works very well for me. Our tutors tried to encourage us to do it a different way, in particular for one of our things, and that was the stage acting for Molière's Tartuffe. I learn my lines so that I absolutely have my lines and I don't have to really worry about them or think about them. I don't blank about finding a word. And then I build in the layering and the backstory. Well, at the same time I'm learning the lines, I've also started to write the backstory. I layer the words after I know those lines. So I learn the lines, I have a look at the whole scene, and then I try and put it together so that I know what sort of intonation I put on a particular word. But if you don't know the lines, to me, if I don't know the lines, I'm not going to get the audition.
Yeah.
Because the director wrote those lines, and he's very precious about the lines. And you know those lines have been written for a particular reason.
Absolutely.
It's all important. It's as important to learn the lines as to have an inner monologue, as to have a backstory. It's all very important.
Okay.
I don't know that there's a priority, but you do need to know your lines in order to progress. You may not get exactly the right intonation or the right intent. The director will ask you to, how about we try it this way? Do your lines this way, or do your lines that way. But if you can't remember if you don't have those lines down pat, then you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. So when you're practicing learning lines, this is something I do. I'll practice them. There's 1,000 different ways you can say the same sentence. I'll try a whole bunch out as part of acting choices. Is that a thing?
Oh, absolutely. Go into, have in your head 2 or 3 offerings for each presentation of your lines.
Yeah.
Having said that, that's when you're trying to secure the role. If you've got a whole movie, yeah, I guess that's still applicable. But if you've built a backstory and an inner monologue, and you've got this inner story going, you have an idea yourself of how you believe you as that person is presenting the lines.
Yeah.
And if that's powerful enough, that will probably be the way that it goes. But be prepared for your director to say, how about we try it this way? Because so have the flexibility to be able to do it a different way.
Sometimes we get a bit locked into our acting choice. You arrive at an audition, and the director says, "What about this?" We've got to have the ability to move.
Yep, you do. You absolutely do. So don't be so fixed, particularly in an audition process. Don't be so fixed on one presentation that you're not flexible enough to try it the way that the director sees it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So the you've learned through last year, how many of them do you actually, at the Christmas function, you delivered Goodwill Hunting? I mean,
Goodwill Hunting.
Do these stay in your
Williams.
mind for like ever?
Do that? Yeah, it's like French that I learnt 30 years ago. I build on it. If you asked me to do that monologue, which by the way is, God, how long was it? It's a long monologue. It was like 7 or 8 minutes long.
It's on a park bench or something, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's on a park bench, and he's talking to Matt Damon.
Haven't seen it for ages.
It's considered one of the best monologues in film history, and apparently Robin Williams memorized it that night. When it was filmed, it was done in one take. He just did it. He was an incredible actor.
Yeah.
So when I did that monologue, it was part of a project they called at school. They called it cover bands, where we had to not only learn the lines, but we had to present it exactly as Robin Williams presented it.
Oh, wow.
For me, exactly as Robin Williams presented it.
No pressure.
His offering, his choices, his looks, his all of that. It was one of the 7, monologue, dialogues, characters that I had to learn. So I'm going to say I didn't do it. I probably came in at about 65-70%.
Okay.
So I had the lines, didn't muff the lines, but didn't get the American accent 100%. There was another thing, had to do it in an American accent. Although Robin Williams has a very general American accent, I identified maybe 3 words in that monologue that had that Boston.
Yeah, he lives in San Francisco, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did okay. 65-70%. I would rate myself as how I presented that. But I learnt the lines.
Same time, you had a lot of other stuff going on at the same time. If you were doing a feature film, you can really focus, deep dive without those other things going on around the outside.
Absolutely, yeah. I tell you who absolutely blows me away at the moment, or two actors. One is Jason Momoa. He has something like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 parallel projects going around the world.
Oh, really?
He was doing 2 or 3 projects in New Zealand, and then shooting back over to the States to do a couple more. He's just signed up for Supergirl. He's doing this. He's doing that. He was Aquaman. He's playing Lobo. He's incredible. He's doing everything he can while he is, Mr. Mega Superstar. But he's not afraid of actually just signing up for everything and doing it exceptionally well. And another one is Nicole Kidman. I'm blown away by her. She's she just goes into every single project 100%.
Yeah, she really does.
And she never stops learning. None of them ever stop learning. I heard that Nicole Kidman has voice coaches with her all the time. Margot Robbie's another one. Voice coaches with them all the time. Acting coaches with them all the time. They invest their money back in themselves. They never stop learning.
That's important, eh? I heard in the business world a few years ago, when you stop learning, that's when the ride starts going down. You just got to keep learning. And in the music world, I hang around some guys in the States that are pretty well known. They're hugely influential in the music industry. They're best part of 80 years old. And they're just like a kid learning everything they possibly... What'd you do over there? What did you do? I want to do that. That was really cool. I think, are you serious? You're a legend, But that's just what they're like 24/7. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Not sure what else I can tell you, Malcolm.
You got any thoughts there for us?
So I'm just going to duck back to the real estate parallel. When I was teaching real estate rookies, I made them rehearse in front of a mirror or in front of me or with a partner in the office. You rehearse and you rehearse.
Like a sales presentation.
A sales presentation. Well, a listing presentation, actually. I liken a listing presentation, an appraisal and listing presentation, to an audition. Yep. And rather than put $35,000-$40,000 commission at stake by just going out there and flubbing in front of your audience, your person who owns this is their most valuable most valuable asset, practice so that it's a polished presentation. You've still got to sell yourself. So that's the inner monologue in the atmosphere and all that sort of, that's what you're bringing to it, but you also have a polished patter. You have learnt your lines. You know how to present. So it's the same with acting. You've got to rehearse and you've got to practice and you've got to upskill. You've got to have that education.
Yeah. Some of those things just apply to absolutely everything, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. With the listings, I was in real estate once too. And you see people talking, they're having that conversation, and it's like they're not even trying. It's like they're not even convinced themselves. Yeah. And I think as a real estate agent, but as an actor as well, you've got to be convinced that you're that guy that can pull this off. Is that fair?
Yep. And another thing just occurred to me too, that another parallel. There are a lot of real estate salespeople that go out there and they just deliver their polished little speech. They don't listen to the other person. They don't respond to the other person. Yeah, exactly. So, there might be a question that can lead on to something else, or there might be, you need to anticipate a bit of Meisner. You need to anticipate that other person's reaction to what you've just said. It's a physical reaction. It's a facial expression. It's a slight change in intonation of what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So acting and real estate, very, very similar. But and that's been perhaps one of my advantages. I've gone in with that experience, but anybody can do it. It's you've just got to have your brain open, your mind open, just be open to everything. and soak up everything from everybody.
Yeah. I've read a lot of psychology books, business psychology books, and that just made a lot of the acting very easy for me because they deep dive. If you've read some of the books that I'm guessing you've read, they go into that psychology like crazy, don't they? The deepest parts of your soul.
Yep. That's what we're doing, though, aren't we? We're out there on the stage or in front of the camera exposing the deepest parts of our soul.
Very.
Yeah. If you can't be the genuine person, if you can't be genuine yourself, it's going to show.
Yeah.
And it may not be you, the person, the character that's on screen, but it is to some degree you're bringing you into that character. You become that character, and then that character is experiencing those emotions.
Yeah.
So you've got to know who you are.
That's pretty cool, and I think that's actually really important. We had Luke Patrick on, was it a week or 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and he was saying that he's taking diaries about his innermost thoughts and keeping all sorts of notes on all sorts of things, because that helps adding to character development when he's building a character. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we've also been told to walk down Queen Street and watch how different people walk.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I do that anyway.
Watch how they hold themselves. Are they confident? Are they stooped? You know, make up a story. What's going on in their head? What's going on in their life?
Yeah.
And store that away. That's a character that you can perhaps use later on.
There's so many there's so many real life experiences that should be written into a script of some sort. So if we're watching people and if we're seeing how people really act, I'm sure there's no end of stories out there to be told.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we don't need to keep redoing films from the 70s and 80s. Let's create some new ones.
Well, I think we're due for that, aren't we? Yeah, some fresh material.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it's been really good to chat. You got anything else?
No, actually, we've talked a lot.
How are we for time? Oh, yeah, we have talked a lot.
It's about 9:15, I think. The one thing that I'm really sort of proud of and so happy I got the opportunity to do, I got a role as an extra in Pike River. Now, that's a Rob Sarkis movie.
Okay.
It'll be out in the next few months, and it's based on the Pike River disaster that happened 15 odd years ago. He has found his niche. He does moments in New Zealand history that are quite poignant. You've got the Aramoana shooting, you've got the Louise Nicholas story, and he did a film on Gene Batten. So he managed to secure the rights to Pike River. So I had a role in that. I was not a specific speaking role, but I was a continuity extra, if you like. So I was there over 7 or 8 days. But I maintained a relationship with him. I just stayed in touch with him. And one of my projects, Term 3 project, was to interview a well-known person in the New Zealand film industry.
Oh,
and
nice.
I asked Rob if I could do that. And I said, I just got a couple of questions. And he said, well, how about we do a Zoom meeting and you just film it? So I did. I had maybe 4 questions, and my 7-minute film project turned into something like 40 on. It was the extent of my Zoom session. I only had a 45-minute Zoom session.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was so good. There was so much golden material in there that I asked the tutor if she'd like to play it to the class, which we did. We played the whole thing. I then had to edit it down to 7 minutes for the project, but that was magic. And that's just one of the standout experiences I've had.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You find that one job you do leads you into the next one, or at least prepares you for the next one?
Absolutely. It just seems to have happened that way for me, particularly in that first year. One film led into another film. Pike River led opportunity to stay in touch with Rob Sarkis. The pendant, which is something I did actually just at the beginning of 24, I auditioned as an extra journalist, and then they said, "Oh, you've got the look of becoming a look that we're looking for as a police commissioner. Can you do this? It's not a speaking role. We're going to just be filming all your expressions of dismay." So they did that, and then they phoned me up the night that we filmed it, and they said, "We liked that. We'd like to write you a little script of what happened just before that scene." So they actually wrote, well, it wasn't so small either. You know, it's about five or 6 minutes of dialogue, of interaction with the key actor. But it was the scene before that, and I had a week to learn it, and they filmed it the next Saturday, and it's now in the film, and I'm now Commissioner Richard Carver when the film eventually comes out. So
how about that?
You know,
That's cool.
It's just I consider myself so lucky, but you've heard this before. I'm sure lots of people have heard this before. I used to say it all the time in real estate: the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
Because you just put yourself in front of opportunities and just know to take them and challenge yourself to take them. Don't be scared. Don't hold back.
I won't tell the story now. You know the story of a trip I did stateside. Can't remember which year. And a lot of very good things happened. And people asked me where my luck was on that. It's the 5 years of preparation before I went.
Yep.
It's all the practice I'd done. If I hadn't done all of that kind of thing, I don't know what I would have done through those 10 weeks or whatever it was. So, no, that's awesome. All right, mate. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm just looking at the comments. Alistair, someone called Gayleen. Does anybody know someone called Gayleen?
I think that's Robin's mum.
So no, it's been awesome, and thank you so much, and we'll see you around throughout the year at the brunches, I'm sure. But sounds like you've got a busy year coming up, man. Yes.
I plan to stay busy, and I'm sure they'll keep me busy. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
That's awesome. All right, we'll call it there. If you stay on the line there, and thanks to everybody for watching. It's been great to see you again. We have someone, I won't say just yet, speaking next week. And I'm liking the idea of these online weekly sessions. One of our big concerns is people that are outside Auckland that can't show up to our events, and hopefully we can bring you into the family a little bit by doing this anywhere in the country. You got access to awesome actors like Chris right here, can help you with your journey and all that kind of thing. So I think we'll keep them going. So. All right, and thank you so much. Stay on the line, Chris. And
sure. Thanks for the opportunity, Mum.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it again sometime. All right, take care, guys. Bye for now.